What's up, everybody? We are live. Thanks for joining in. Go on and set up. Let's see. We got Putin. Or what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Casper, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Derek, what's up, man? From East Tennessee. Let's get it. Thanks for joining in. Betsy, Spirit Rider, thanks for joining. Who else we got in here? WKRK9, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. And we got Bully Bred Kennels. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. We're about to get this started. We actually had a few of them today. Derek Hatfield threw on Trusting the Genetics week. Let's see here. We also kind of touch on last Wednesday's the Facebook Live. We'll touch on that a little bit. That was dope. C-sections or natural. Let's see. Vinton Alexander put C-sections or natural. Okay. Especially when it's Ryan is applying emotions to dog. Betsy said dry bully. Mark Gitman asked Dewormer cat. Possible for pups and temperaments. Going up. All right, there. Let me see if I can adjust something. Because for some reason my internet connection is bad right now. See if I get out of here. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Let's see if that helps. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and first things first. When it comes to the group, people have been asking about their posts not getting posted. You got to remember the Facebook rules. We cannot sell dogs online, so a lot of it has to do. Is it frozen again? Let's see here. We cannot sell dogs online. So a lot of the posts, a lot of it is your wording. Of course, you know, people are always gonna inquire on what each other is doing as far as puppies and breedings and things like that. That's not an issue, of course. But what you guys have to watch your wording when you make posts into the group. Let me know. All right, so it looks good on my end, but for some reason it's not showing on the screen. Let me see something here. And all right, let me know if it's looks like it might be frozen on Facebook. Come on now. Let's see what happens if I click on it. Give me a second, y'all. Let me try to work this out. I think. All right, so are we good? Are you guys able to see? Brad Gross, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. G Hitman, what's up, dude? Thanks for joining. It looks like we're good, but I can tell there's like a lag, which is weird. And my internet should be good. All right, let's go ahead and get it going. But anyway, so when it comes to posting in the group, watch your wording. A lot of people like to put this big description and hit me up, PM me. Once you start saying those things, it makes it obvious that you are selling dogs. Can't sell dogs on Facebook. So you guys really need to just watch your wording. The less you put, the better. 9 times out of 10, if you just post your dog, people are going to inquire. You don't have to put a lot. You can, of course, describe your dog, but when you start describing how to get a hold of you, some people are blatant, 2 pups left, things like that, then, we have to delete it because it makes it obvious that you're selling pups. Other than that, let's see. Last week, Wednesday was dope. I ended up going live last week, Wednesday, but strictly through Facebook. And we were talking about the bully and what's a good representation of the bully. It was dope. Fred Duran jumped on. Who else? Daniel Nunez. Anthony Gray jumped on big time in the show ring. And I thought it was dope. It was I think where we all kind of they were all pretty much on the same page. I think where we all kind of disagreed is I look at if a dog is a dope dog of a breed, then it represents the breed well. So, when it comes to the show ring, you tend to have dogs that are heavier, a little more fat, more bone, more substance, and that's what all breeds. Then you get to dogs outside of the show ring, whether they're pets and especially in the working arena. You tend to get dogs that are a little more, tend to be leaner, more athletic. The bully community tends to be anti-athletic. I thought what was cool with having those 3 on is they're not anti-athletic, but they are those, both Anthony, Daniel, and Fred are still like, with the dog being in the beginning stages, we still need to have, people as close to what the breed standard is looking for as possible. And I get that. Hey, what's up, Rose? Thanks for joining in. So, yeah, everybody hit the like button for show. Share if you want, but definitely hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, definitely subscribe. Always know and understand it's easier for me to see your comments that are on YouTube. Facebook seems to be kind of 50-50 with showing me the comments without or through StreamYard. It still looks like it's lagging a little bit, but hopefully we're good. But last week's live that was strictly on Facebook, I thought was real good. And hearing their perspective of it. But let's get into this week. Trusting the genetics. A lot of times when you get on Facebook, you see trust the blood. The question is, can you really trust the blood, especially in the American bully breed? There's not a lot of line breeding that's done in the last 3-4 generations. There's not a lot of bullies, cars, and ARs. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. There's not a lot of inbreeding that's done in the last 4 generations. There are some breeders that have gotten to that phase, but most haven't. And can you really trust the blood? One of the things I personally looked at when it comes to the bully is focusing on traits. So that way, if the dogs are scatterbred, so if we're talking about a big head, The dogs are scatterbred, but they all showing big, but the pedigree is showing big heads on both sides, and you know you can count on that. If you're trying to fix something, high rears, angulation, the dog you're going to, you know that you want to see that on both sides of that dog, matching those traits. But can you really trust the blood if there's no line breeding, no inbreeding in up front in the first 3, 4, 5 generations? I personally feel I wouldn't trust it because if you're breeding a dog that is related, if you're doing the line breeding, then you can possibly trust it. If you're not the one that's doing the line breeding, you're counting on the dog that you're going to fix something, enhance something, whatever it is, in the dog that you already have. I personally believe you need to look at traits, and you need to make sure that those traits are being passed from generation to generation in your pedigree. And the way you want to look at traits, like I've said before, is feet up, tails forward. So break down the feet. And if it means you got to, another thing, bully breeders, don't be afraid to call breeders and ask questions. And one of those questions may be, okay, I'm going to this stud that this guy owns, but he's not the producer of it. Do you mind me calling the guy that actually produced it? Do you have his number? Can I contact him to ask them questions? You have to be willing to ask questions when it comes to the temperament of these dogs. You also have to be willing to ask questions when it comes to the look of these dogs, because a lot of times, what are we seeing? We're just seeing the very best picture of the dog. So you have to be willing to ask questions. You have to be willing to contact people. You have to be willing to ask about those traits, from the temperament of the dog to the different drives and triggers of the dog. Also from, the feet up, tail forward. So you want to know, does the dog have splayed toes, weak pasterns, the bone density on that dog? Is it what you're looking for as you move up the legs? When you're dealing with the back legs, again, easty westy in the front, cowhawked in the back, splayed toes in the back, angulation in the back. As you're moving up the leg, you get to those hips. Do the dogs have wide hips, strong hips, weak hips? You start to go from the tail forward. A kink tail. Is there a kink in the tail? Is it a gay tail? Is it set correctly how the bully is supposed to be set? Now you're looking at the back. Is it a high rear, roach back, sway back? You just want to make your way up front. The shoulder set. Is it a wide shoulder? Does the chest on the dog sit right? The neck, the head structure, is it round? Is it boxed? The ear setting. You want to start asking all these questions so that you can come up with a checklist and make things match. Whenever things match, that's what you're going to probably get. When things don't match, now you're going to have a battle. If you get a male puppy, he's going to take more from the mother. If you get a female puppy, she's going to get 50-50 from mom and dad. So you want to know what matches, and you want things to match as far back as you can go. So instead of looking, when trust the blood, that saying was more of a working dog saying. Now it's kind of thrown out there. Oh, my pup is skinny at 6 months. Don't worry, trust the blood. It's gonna blow up. Don't worry, give it a chance. So you can do that, but at the same time, you want to make sure that those traits are there so that you know what it is you're trusting. So I personally believe trust the traits that you're seeing moving down and through your pedigree. Don't get so much caught up into the blood unless there is line breeding and inbreeding done within that first 4 to 5 generations. If you've got a line breeding done in the first 3, you're good. If you got an inbreeding done in the first 3 to 5, you're probably going to get what it is you're looking for, especially if those dogs that have been line bred or inbred are on both sides, mom and dad side. Then you're probably going to get what you're looking for. Let's see here. Ray Garcia, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Hope everyone on here is doing well. Brad Gross said, you ever hear of Harlequin coat on a bully, i.e. piebald with ticking? Yes, you do get a lot of that in bullies. For what I understand, gray line can throw a lot of ticking. But as far as the piebald, yeah, it's extremely in the bullies. The ticking is definitely in the bullies. I want to say harlequin, though, if I'm not mistaken, is like a term kind of used for merle. I could be wrong. Like in I want to say in Great Danes, they say Harlequin instead of Merle. I'm not too sure. Bullies don't use the term Harlequin. I want to say Harlequin is used with different breeds, same colors, things that we're looking at, but changes. Let me get this plugged in. There we go. But changes. They changed the name. Bully Bred Kennel said, "I don't trust any blood. If I say it's fine times something." I agree. If it's got a lot of a dog in there, and again, you could be 5 times whoever. If you're 5 generations back, you're like 3% of what makes up the dog. So it's not going to really do you any good unless you're seeing those traits passing through the pedigree. And remember that when you're asking questions to breeders, you're looking at your pedigree. That is what's most important, is those traits. Don't get caught up into blood because it's a popular name. Cool if it's a popular name. That might add to your sales or the value of your dog to people that don't know any better. But are those traits being passed? That's the most important thing. Doesn't mean no good to be 5 times Juan Gotti, but he's 7 generations back. He's not helping me at all. Unless those traits are moving through, and that's going to be based off the breeders that did the breedings long before you. Putin said, can you give a 3-week-old puppy coconut oil on coat? Has a bit of loss of hair in certain areas. Yeah, you can definitely do it on his coat, and it will help. So yeah, that's something you can definitely do. Add a little bit of yogurt to his food. I would say sauerkraut. I know a lot of times puppies can be finicky at that age. But at 3 weeks, yes, definitely add some coconut oil to his coat. It will help heal that area, and it will help a little bit with the coat regenerating back. Let's see. Spirit Rider said my Lincoln's got ticking coming through this year. He's 3 now. Yeah, that is. I've noticed that with ticking, that sometimes it takes a while to show up. Derek Hatfield said that's why I wanted you to talk about it, so I know before I get into the game. Definitely. Let's see. My girl, 10 months, has slight high rear. Her mama has it as well, but dad is straight shot across the top. They bred the parents to take out the high rear. I'm hoping my girl loses it. Focus on her. There's not a lot you can do for high rears. A lot of it has to do with angulation. A lot of it has to do with shoulder set. Also, a lot of these dogs have weak pasterns. Make sure your girl's food bowl, not her water bowl. A lot of times I see water bowls. Always remember food high, water low. Make sure her food bowl is high so that she's on her toes when she's eating. Still comfortable, but erect. And then, make sure she's getting enough exercise. Don't push her. Just make sure she's getting enough exercise to build the muscles in her rear. The more muscle is built in the rear, the more it will help to contract. It's just like a bodybuilder. They clap funny because their muscles are too big. So when the more muscle there is in the rear, the more it kind of will help contract the back muscles in the back legs to give a little more angulation. But just, make sure she's eating good, that don't overfeed her. At 10 months, that's that stage where, you never know what you're going to get. But she's getting close to it at about a year. So just keep an eye on it. Watch her food intake, her diet, keep her lean. She doesn't need to really put on weight till about a year and a half. So definitely keep that in mind, and definitely work on her pasterns and her standing erect in the front to help kind of even that out. Let's see. Bossed Up Trevi, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in, dude. Road Kennel said, do you believe someone should criticize a person for having a dog on a chain? It's the bully world. You got a lot of fur moms. Me personally, I don't have a problem with dogs being on chain as long as they're well kept. If you don't have a fenced in yard, make sure that you are constantly checking those chain links, that you have a schedule every month, every 2 months that you're checking those chain links. Make sure that there's a lot of swiveling that is able to take place up close to the dog and at the back of the chain. I personally like the and now my mind just went blank. When damn, why can't I think of the name? When you have the chain runs that are up high. I personally like those the best, but make sure, because that chain is dragging on the ground. A lot of dirt, grit wears down the chain. So just make sure you're checking on it. I personally don't have a problem. I haven't had a dog on chain in years, but I personally don't have a problem with it. People look at it as it's cruel. The dogs are perfectly fine. Dogs on chains are just as happy as dogs in the house and everything else. So I don't have an issue with it. Hotep said, good question. It's illegal to tether in Dallas. I didn't know that. I don't think it's illegal here in Cali, and Cali is pretty strict. But I don't think it's illegal here. Rhodes said, do you believe in litter mate, brother, sister breedings? I've seen people doing it. I don't have a problem with inbreeding, but you need to make sure that the dog's both temperament, before you do an inbreeding, that the temperament and the structure and the ability, and that's the things that make up a dog: temperament, structure, ability. Ability is a lot based off your temperament and your structure. So, and when I say ability, I'm not just talking about working dogs. If you're in the show ring, your dog's ability to show and make itself stand out. It's a pet. And when I'm talking about dogs, I'm talking about the litter. Are you able to produce? Like, you might produce dogs and all of them aren't the best show quality. They're all of good quality, but at the same time, they've all got a temperament that's good that's able to be and stand out in the show. And that's what I'm talking about, ability. Whether you're working the dog, showing the dog, pet homing dogs, whatever it is you're breeding for, what is that dog's ability to do that? So temperament, ability, structure. If all those three are on point, inbreeding is perfectly fine. Now when you're going brother to sister, you got to remember you're going a lot of the mom's genetic information, I should say. So you want to be careful again and be picky about the dogs that you're doing it with. So as long as they're perfect, that's what the inbreeding is for, is to lock it in. So whether it becomes daughter to father, mother to son, brother to sister, that's inbreeding. So as long as the dogs are perfect, then I don't see an issue with it. What I would say, though, to look at first is, to me, in my opinion, the best inbreedings are father-daughter. If you've got the female, then look at the father, and maybe he might be who you want to go to. When you go female to brother, sometimes it can exacerbate flaws that you thought you fixed. So you want to know that these flaws, mom and dad are perfect, pups are perfect. Let's go ahead and then look at your whole litter so you know what you're dealing with before you take two of them and breed them together. But again, structure, temperament, ability. Make sure those are all on point before you do your inbreedings. Brad Groves said, Fubo high, and I use the heel technique from Raul. Yeah, there you go. So if you do that, you should be able to work on it. Remember, the spring pull can also assist with your rear, building the muscles in the rear. Make sure the back end of the dog is on the ground. And I don't mean where the dog's straight up, but the back feet are touching the ground. I mean where the dog should actually be able to pull back and be at an angle while it's pulling, where just the front legs are up a little bit. That'll help. Doing hill runs definitely helps. If you got a dirt hill near you, walking uphill slow, downhill fast. When I say fast and I say slow, you have your regular pace. Pick up your speed. When you have the dog on leash, pick up a fast walking pace going uphill. Going downhill, slow it down a little bit, or do it at a normal pace. That will also help build up the rear of the dog and help kind of constrict those muscles to shape the angulation in the back a little bit. It's not going to give you a lot. Putin said, what age is cool to bathe a newborn puppy? I hear too young, you can hypothermia. I wouldn't worry about hypothermia, but I wouldn't do too much bathing. I don't bathe pups until they get away from the mom. And even then, I don't do, it's just, I'm just using water. Not no soap, no nothing. Always you can wipe the pups down with a damp cloth, but you want them to keep that. The mom's been licking on them. You want that to stay on them. But yeah, you can definitely wipe them down. Excuse me, with a damp cloth. That's not a problem. At their age, they shouldn't have too much dirt or anything that you got to worry about. You know, don't do too much bathing. Let them get used to their smell, the germs that the mom has put on them when she's licking them and cleaning them. They get about 4 weeks old. You can do, you know, if you want to use. I personally will wait till about 5 weeks. Pups are running around; they're a little more independent. And I would use just a gentle shampoo and only use a little of the shampoo. Make sure it is mostly water. You don't want to dry their fur out or anything like that. But just wiping them down should be good on newborn pups. You shouldn't have to do too much. Castro said, what large breeds do you believe are good pack hunters? Rhodesian Ridgeback or Vizsla maybe? I love Rhodesian Ridgebacks. I've actually had the opportunity to work with 2 Vizslas. I love Vizslas. They're a very similar dog in their look somewhat. The Rhodesian's just a little thicker. My favorite large breed pack hunter will be the Dogo. American Bulldogs have a demeanor that you can kind of pack hunt with them. But I like the Dogo. I do love the Rhodesian. I love the Red Bone Coonhound. The Vizsla, I think, is a great dog. Vizslas tend to be a little light, depending on, you know, what type of game you're hunting. But I've never had the opportunity to own a Rhodesian. Always said I was going to, just haven't had the opportunity to do it yet. But if I was trying to build a pack again like I used to, I would love to build a pack of Rhodesians and Dogos, and I would say those would be my favorite too. Susie Q Kiwi, what's up? Said Kia and or Daryl and Thor Bully family. Nice to hear your thoughts, Daryl. That people ask yours in the dog. Thank you for joining in. And stay tuned. And any topics you want to bring up, definitely you are welcome to do so. Let's see. She about 65 to 70 pounds right now. Hold on. What were we talking about with that? Okay. So 65, 70 pounds. So yeah, you don't want her too high up on the spring pole. But yeah, I would say those exercises should help. Just make sure she's still young. So make sure you're not pushing her hard. And you don't want to push her hard because her growth plates are still developing and getting those bones and joints together. So just make sure you're not pushing her hard. And then remember, she's still growing. Let's see. Tuxedo Pitbull says, so my studs broke into my 9-month-old's kennel and bred her. What should I do? If that took place, at 9 months old, she's young. So if you don't know whether or not she's pregnant, I wouldn't worry too much about it. If she was in heat and it took place and she does turn out to be pregnant, she has still got a lot of growing to do. Those puppies are like vampires. So what I would make sure I'm doing, if you do confirm that she is pregnant, increase her food intake. Normally at 9 months old, you don't want to do too much protein. With her having pups in her, you can increase the protein a little bit, especially because she's got to grow for those pups. She's also got to grow for herself at that age. Focus on fat. Dogs are able to digest and get a lot from fat that we humans aren't so much able to do. So focus on fat, raw ground beef, increase her food intake, keep her exercising, keep her moving. And then, man, yeah, you know, you want to carry that out once she has the pups. I would try to maybe for like the first week or two, go ahead and let the pups nurse on her. Then I would try to handle that yourself. Try to handle as much of the nursing, the whelping as possible yourself. Get your formula ready. The minute those pups are born, let them nurse on her so that they get the antibiotics and everything that they need from her, especially the colostrum. But then also make sure that you're doing a lot of the nursing so that the pups aren't constantly nursing on her at such a young age. Once the pups are done nursing on her, I would take them off I would take them off her because of her being young at about 3 weeks. Definitely don't go beyond 4 weeks, and then keep her food intake up, keep her exercise up, so that she's getting the nutrients that she needs. Make sure she has an intake of yogurt. Sauerkraut is also good. It helps with the digestion so that she can get as much out of her nutrients as possible. Sprinkling a little bit of black pepper on her food, just a little pinch, kicks those enzymes up. That will also help with her digestion. So, yeah, that's young because she's still got a lot of developing to do, and you don't want those pups to take away from it. Let's see. Dom Seguenza said, I did what you said to work rear, make him sit and jump to get toy rear workout. Exactly. Okay. That's another one, Brad Gross. If you have a dog that will sit and sit correctly, where, because some dogs sit on their hips with their legs sticking out, the dog will sit correctly, get the dog to sit, and then throw a ball. Throw the ball straight up, though. That way the dog is squatting to get up. That's another one that's going to build those back hips and help a little bit with your angulation. Again, it only is going to help slightly, but the more things you're doing that hit that area, the better you'll notice that it's going to be. Steven said, what should the water bowl be down? Low. Yes, food high, water low. Keeping the water being high can sometimes cause bloat in the dog. You want to be careful with that. Keep the water low. When you look in the animal kingdom, water is typically below the dog's feet because the animal is walking up to a spot, there's a lake, and then they're leaning down to get that water that water that they're drinking. So always keep your water bowl low, your food up high. I know a lot of little things come with two things. The little stands come with two things. Just put 2 things of food in it. But keep your water bowl low so that way the dog is drinking naturally, because most animals drink from water, and that water is typically lower than their feet because they're on land leaning down to drink from the water. I feel like my cold is coming back. Bullies, Cars, and ARs says state law in Virginia, no tethering. I don't have a problem with it, though. So I didn't know states had laws against it. I don't think we do in Cali. I have to look that up because I got quite a few friends that tether their dogs. Let's see. Alam said, how can you know the structure flaws of your dog's parents and grandparents? You need to look at them. Find as many pictures as you can, videos as you can. Ask the breeders. Ask the breeder. If you've gotten a dog, and ask the breeder, or you're looking to get a dog, ask that breeder directly. Any flaws on the dog? All dogs have flaws, so that breeder should be able to tell you what flaws the dog has, what things that he's working on. If you know who the grandparents are, get a hold of the breeders of the grandparents. Ask them, the owners of the grandparents. Ask them. Don't just go off your typical pedigree pictures because they tend to be the best picture. And there's nothing wrong with people putting the best picture forward. But you, as a breeder, want to ask those questions. So when you're looking at pictures, get on their Facebook, go through their profiles, look at as many pictures and as many videos, have them send you videos of the dogs as possible. The main thing in the bully is high rears, easty westy, weak pasterns, lack of angulation. What else would you say? Roach back, sway back. Those tend to be the main flaws in the bully. Lacking bone, lacking girth. Those tend to be the main things. But yeah, just look at them. And again, toes up, tails forward. So front leg, toes up to the top of the legs, stop. Go to the back leg, toes up to the back hips, stop. Then tail forward. Analyze everything from the tail all the way through the back to the shoulders, the chest, the neck, head, ear set, eye set, the muzzle, the bite. And then, of course, you also want to have videos where you can hear how that dog breathes when it's running around, when it's moving, to avoid having soft palate issues. And as long as you do that, toes up, tails forward. Splayed toes is another thing with bullies. Toes up, tails forward, and that way you're covering the entire dog one step at a time. Betsy said, look at them. Exactly. Let's see. Susie Q said, yep, I agree, Daryl. If you inbreeding father-daughter is the safest if that's how someone chooses to go. but best to line rather than inbreeding. I like line breeding. We haven't gotten to that stage yet. I like line breeding because once you're getting those flaws out, you can start using line breeding to fix issues. Once those issues are fixed, the inbreeding is what locks it in solid so that you can take that dog to the rest of the world, whether it be male or female, and help them fix their problems and still push your blood through. But inbreeding is how you really create a true bloodline because you've locked in your temperament, you've locked in your structure, you've locked in your ability. No problem, Brad. Castro said, do you use any dental chews to clean your dog's teeth? Yeah, my son's kind of the one that's in charge of that. We use Nylabone, those things that are specifically made for it. I forget the one she's actually in there chewing on now. But also for dental, add coconut oil to your dog's food every other day. Coconut oil is a little thick, so I don't do it on a daily basis, but every other day it's got a lot. It's an antiseptic, helps clean the dog's mouth, clean their teeth, clean their breath. So add coconut oil to their food, and that will help a lot with your dental issue, any possible dental issues. Brad said, when it's safe for newbies to go outside, once they get their first set of shots, I would wait about a week or two. I see people with 4-week-old dogs running around on the grass. Me, I'm a little paranoid about it. I try to wait right around that 6-week era, making sure my yard is clean. And then I try to have a set area for them that I am wary of it because we get rabbits, we get raccoons, we get possums, mice, field rats, field mice, squirrels. We get all that in our yard. So I will find an area. Typically, it's on the patio. And I try to keep them off of our grass due to the influx of animals that we do get in our yard. If I've got a well fenced in my yard, the fence kind of surrounds the whole yard, so animals are constantly coming. Even stray cats will try to venture their way into our yard. So our dogs probably kill something like once a week. So I try to avoid it. If I had like a normal type fenced in backyard, then I would probably allow them a little more freedom in the backyard. Definitely not the front because of people walking their dogs and cats and things like that. But so me personally, I try to wait to that 6-week area where I find a section in the yard. I'll lay down a blanket, a large blanket or tarp cover, and then I'll go ahead and have the pups on that. But I try to avoid them being in my yard outside as much as possible. But you don't want to avoid it too much because you want those pups to start getting sunlight, especially at 4 weeks old. So there's even times where I'll just take the pups out, have 2 in my hand, and just kind of hold them in the sun during the day for about 20 minutes, bring them back in, then grab the next set of pups and bring them out. But I'll hold them in my hand. So get yourself a tarp, something that you can have a pin, and then go ahead and put your pups on that so they can run around, get sunlight without being on your grass, your dirt. And again, that just depends. I do it that way because I get a lot of wild animals coming through my yard, and I don't trust it. You're a blessing. Hey, man, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Putin. Susie Q said, I'm old school like yourself, Daryl, and enjoy what people ask you and your views, thoughts about man's best friend. Thanks for the help you give us. Helping others is what makes the breed better. That is true, and thank you. I appreciate that a lot, and I appreciate you guys tuning in, and not only tuning in, but also giving your thoughts. That way I'm not the only one. Rose said, what's the best working breed in your opinion? I would say the Dogo. I do love the Pressa. The Borbell, I think adds, I think is a great protection breed, a great guardian. As far as working outside of that, I think, hunting, things like that, I think the Borbell adds great to the band dog community. As far as all around working, just getting various jobs done, I would have to say the Dogo. I like the Pressa depending on the build. I'm noticing some Pressas are starting to get sloppy nowadays. I think that World has a section of it that kind of tries to compete with the King Corso, but I do love the Pressa. A good Pressa is a great dog. But I would say all around, I would have to say the Dogo. Putin said, does Cardi Bull have any dogs with protection training quality traits? No, in her blood, no. But her mom, Luna, she didn't take no crap from man or beast. And she was very dominant around other dogs. And we had her shipped from Romania, from Bully Road Kennel Club. Shout out to Paul. Um, but Cardi is very protective. She's got, definitely not high. I would say low to medium civil drive in her. Cardi has no problem if a person is not acting right. She has no problem giving a little growl, letting them know, like, hey, I'll get you. She's had where I've caught people try to tease her. We have a fence that's only 4 feet 8 inches. And I've caught people that are just bold and will tease her. And she's a big dog, so she's standing over the fence. And one dude had some stick or whatever he had. Just as I was walking out, she caught the stick. So she's not a dog that's gonna back down, Cardi. And so far, her offspring are showing it now. 2 of them, I would say, are just like her. The rest, from male to females, tend to be a little more mellow. But Cardi's got, I would say, low to medium civil drive in her. So yeah, Cardi will stand her ground with a person. She will bite a person. She loves doing bite work. She loves it. So in the bite work, I kind of work with her on understanding how human limbs work, so that she's never actually, I think it might be outside, so that she understands what might come at her when dealing with humans. So I'll, do a little bit of kicking at her just so she gets to understand that, you got what to watch for. But she loves doing bite work. She's addicted to it. And yeah, Cardi will. She's had several people approach her where she's kind of growled at them like she just didn't like their approach. So I have to kind of invite a person in with her. And once I invite them in, then she's good. Her pups at a year old right now are showing some of those same traits, but a little bit watered down, which is actually what we want. They tend to be a little friendlier, a little more social. Now, when we're out in public, she tends to be cooler. If she's at home, that's when she can be a little more. You have to invite somebody to pet her, and then she's good. In public, she's great. She'll let people at the vet, people at PetSmart, and all that kind of stuff rub her and pet her and all that kind of stuff. But when we're at home, she's a lot more protective and watchful of people. Capture Sale, okay, he was talking to Rhodes. Let's see, Apple helps teeth. Yes, Betsy or Spirit Rider. Apple is also great for the teeth, very great for the teeth. It helps rub off some of the plaque. The acid in apple is also good in helping clean the teeth. You just don't want to give apple too much, and never, ever, ever, ever give the core of the apple. Always give apple slices. Putin said, what do you like to see in a young pup that would make you decide she for your keeper? Our focus right now has been temperament. We made Aziz one of our keeper. We knew we only wanted to keep the best pup out of the litter, regardless of whether it was male or female. We ended up keeping the best 2, which turned out to be Onyx and Aziz. The reason we kept them was 100% based off temperament. Luckily, I'm also very pleased with their structure, how it has turned out. Onyx is a little more lean. Partly to do it, my cousin Aaron, that's just kind of how he feeds and he keeps the dogs moving and active. Aziz is actually with my best friend, and he's spoiled. Gets to go everywhere. He's eating the best of foods and traveling everywhere. Him and his girlfriend go. Shout out to Kareem and Cookie. Everywhere they go, Aziz is with them, and eating the best of foods as much as he wants. So he's a little heavier, definitely heavier than what Aaron would have. Definitely slightly heavier than what I would have him. But his structure and everything is great. I'm very pleased. But we went for temperament, and those were the 2 that were showing the best traits where they weren't overly friendly. Some of the pups in the litter came out a little overly friendly. Not many. The majority of the litter is a little dominant when around other dogs. That is what we wanted. but they're still able to go to dog parks, dog beach. Out here, we have Huntington Beach, which you can go there on a hot weekend, and it's shoots. If it's 80, 75, 80 degrees there, you can get easy 600 to 1,000 dogs there. And so far, the majority of the litter has been there, and they are doing extremely well at dog parks, things like that. Gage is another one that does well with dogs. So we're getting what we want. But we want a little bit of dominance to be shown when they're dealing with other dogs. We don't want them in positions to where they submit to other dogs. But what I personally look for, again, toes up, tail forward. You want to look at the structure, the temperament. I personally want a dog that is confident with the other pups, with the mom, when he comes to meeting new people. I like energy, especially since these dogs are going to be big dogs. I want them to be dogs that want to move, want to get up, want to go places, want to do things. And that's what I look for. If I'm looking for protection, you figure eventually once we get the blood together, probably in the next 4 breedings that's focused on our bloodline, we will start taking them 2 different directions. One will be more protection, and one will be more solely based on pet homes, so a more free-for-all dog that's happy going. And then we'll probably also take dogs that are a little more reserved, a little more independent, and breed them a whole nother direction for protection. But those are the things. I just look for the traits and the temperament that I know I want, that people who come to us for dogs want. We were breeding working dogs prior to this, so there's a certain people who come to us now. We haven't sold dogs on Facebook, Instagram, anything like that. It's all been, word of mouth, people that we've constantly dealt with. So we kind of know what they're looking for when they come to us, especially since we're doing American Bullies now. And we still want to be able to satisfy our old clientele and our old customers that were into the catch dogs, the Cane Corsos, the Rottweilers, and things like that. We want to still be able to satisfy them. Let's see. Tuxedo said, okay, I inform my staff what you said. Thank you. No more wrap chain link kennels here. Oh, yes. I get you. Got you. Dom said, what's some natural ways to help with redness around and in the ear? He keeps scratching. When it comes to redness in the ear, you want to make sure he doesn't have an ear infection. You can always use apple cider vinegar to clean in the ear and around the ear. There are ear drops that you can get. You drop them in the dog's ear, and then you massage the ear and stand back, because if he does have an ear infection, it stinks. And when he starts shaking his head to get it out of his ear, you don't want that getting on you. But just try to keep as much of the clean as possible. Give your dog Sardines so that their skin and fur is oiled good. And I would say every other day, that's what we do. And I just use the cheap Walmart brand Sardines right here. Make sure it's in water. Pour a little bit of the water on the food, add the Sardines. You might need some Tupperware, depending on how many dogs you have. If you got 2 dogs, you're good. Half of the Sardines to one, half of them to the other. And make sure you pour that water that comes out of the can on there too. So you want them to get a lot of natural oils so that the ear doesn't get dry. A lot of times they get ear infection because the ear gets dry, dirty or dry, and there's a buildup of flakes in the dog's ear. So you just want to make sure you're keeping it clean. But if you notice that it's red, the red typically, if it's not infected, it's typically because of the scratching. To help with the itching, like I said, go ahead and start getting those ear drop cleaners. You can use that. You can use peroxide, which will help. It foams up, the dog shakes it out. That will help also. Just a little mixture of 50% water, 50% peroxide. G. Hitman said use apple cider vinegar. Yes. Let's see. Inspirational Alpha. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in, dude. Let's see. Rose said apple cider vinegar is my go-to. Same here. We're going to get to that because somebody asked about deworming. So we're going to get to that. Matter of fact, let me jump back to the topics. Let's see. So we did with trusting the genetics. Another one was C-sections or natural birth. That was by Vinton Alexander. I personally believe natural birth is all around the best thing for dogs, all breeds. It gets the mom in tune with the pups correctly. Where C-sections, you got to make sure that you introduce her to the pups correctly. Natural birth, it just kicks the mom right into gear that she needs to be in. With these bullies, though, we are breeding big heads, large shoulders. So a lot of these dogs do need to have C-sections because of the breedings, the way they were done, and bulldogs being thrown in, especially the English bulldog, the old English bulldog, the oldie bulldog, being in this breed. A lot of times we're seeing a big dog on the outside, but the organs don't necessarily match. That birth canal doesn't necessarily match. So you do have to be careful of that. You might have Great Dane, big, huge Borbell on the outside of your American Bully, but it's got an English Bulldog size birth canal. So those are things we have to be careful of. I think as you get your yard consistent, you start getting 3, 4, 5 generations into your yard where you're not going outside your yard, and you're starting to get consistency. Your females got hips, your males got hips. I think at some point you might want to try inbreeding. Try a natural birth and see what happens. Be prepared for emergency C-sections just in case. Have that money ready. It's gonna cost you $2,000 to $3,000 if it's an emergency. Know what vet you're gonna go to. Really watch your female. Our plan is that once we're about 3, 4 generations in on our bloodline, we do want to see if we can go ahead and do a natural breeding. So if you've got a large litter, chances are you'll be able to do a natural breeding. But like I said, be careful, be prepared for the C-sections. If you're doing this is if you're 2 generations in on your blood, I will go ahead and do a C-section unless you know your dog came from a natural birth. If your dog's mom came from a natural birth, there's a good chance. If you got and treat it like a trait. All of these things are traits. So natural birth is a trait. So if you've got it taking place on both sides of your male and female, then the chances are you'll be able to do it also. Just have your money ready for that C-section, that emergency C-section, just in case. Know what vets you're going to go to, who's the closest. Have all that dialed in because, again, we are producing dogs with large heads, large shoulders, thick bone. If it's a large litter, chances are you're good. When you're talking 8 pups or more, chances are you're good. 6 pups, yeah. 4 pups, yeah, you might want to stick with the C-section because the pups are going to tend to be larger. And though they might be larger as puppies, they'll still grow to whatever their genetics are supposed to be. But when you have a large litter in that mom, the pups tend to be smaller. Is applying human emotions to dog behavior wrong? Very wrong. That came from Ryan Sterling. Applying human emotions to dogs is one of the worst things we do as dog owners and as dog breeders, and as even dog trainers. Even it used to be understood amongst dog trainers that we were not to apply human emotions and we were to educate dog owners on how not to do it. People want, I get people all the time, you should come work with my dog. Why? What's wrong? He's jealous of my other dog. What's it doing? They give a description. Okay, it's not jealous. It's just dominant when it comes to you. So we'll work on that. But a lot of times especially the English language, there's a lot of titles: jealous, bad, good, wrong. There's a lot of titles that we throw on things. When you look at like Spanish, African languages and dialects, they're words, but they're more descriptive than an actual title of bad, good, jealous, scared. They're more descriptive. And so in the English language, we like to throw on titles. And so when it comes to our dogs, we say, oh, he's jealous. He's disrespectful. He's whatever it is people want to call a dog. But a lot of times we throw these human emotions on dogs. And the fears we have, I remember there was a guy that posted a picture in the group and he was holding the pup up by the scruff. And people were just going crazy. Oh, that's wrong. Okay, but that's how the mom picks them. The moms will pick them up in the same format. My Jack Russell, I pick her up by the scruff, or I used to, rest in peace. But because she's hyper, and when you grab her by the scruff of her neck, she automatically calms down. She just goes straight into puppy mode. She was only about 15 pounds. So even when she was young, 4 or 5 years old, when we're working her and I grab her and she sees those other dogs getting into it with something, she wants to get in there. She's too small to get in there. So once I can get in there and get her off, I will hold her by the scruff of her neck because it will calm her down rather than her scratching me and going all crazy trying to get at whatever the dogs were fighting at the time. And so, you know, we apply these human emotions and things. That's one of the worst things we do with our dogs is applying human emotion. Let's see. Spirit Rider said, does too much drive across the line from American Bully to Band Dog? It depends on what drive you're talking about. I think with the American Bully, if we're talking about purpose drive, I think that's cool. You know, a dog that just wants to do whatever it is you want to do and is excited to do whatever it is you want to do. I would definitely watch rank-driven dogs with both style, with both the American Bully and the Band Dog. There's no purpose in rank drive, and just dog ownership. As far as dominant, the dog's got a high dominant drive. That can be an issue. You want it leveled and measured though. So it depends on what drive you're talking about. If you're talking about like prey drive, I think cool. Play drive. When it comes to bullies, play drive, purpose drive. What I say, prey drive, purpose drive, play drive. Those are great. It keeps them healthy, keeps them intelligent, keeps them engaging, and it keeps them dogs. When it comes to, you want your rank drive to be as low as possible. You don't want rank driven dogs. Dominance drive, medium, low to medium, because you don't want a bully that's submitting the dogs at the dog park either. Now, when it comes to your band dogs, you're going to want more of a protective drive. You're going to want all those same things, but you're going to want more protective drive. What I should say is defensive drive, but not based off fear, based off confidence. You're going to want a higher level of fight drive in that dog. You don't want him, you know, if he gets injured in a fight, you want him to be more frustrated, more angered by getting injured or getting struck than you do him turning fearful or backing off. So the fight drive needs to be, the fight drive and the defensive drive you're going to want high, but you want them high for the right reasons, not out of fear, but out of confidence and being able to push something back to get it to go away. Dewormer types, schedule, measurements, and antibiotics. So first, Mark Gitman, that was your question that you posted in the topic section. When it comes to dewormers, we have a lot of great products. I know ivermectin is something. I think ivermectin is great when you have a lot of dogs. If you only have a few dogs, I don't see the necessity for ivermectin. If you've used it before or you got somebody that's willing to touch, I don't give amounts when it comes to ivermectin because all it takes is for something to go. You could say, okay, well, how much does your dog weigh? Person's like, oh, he's 100 pounds. Turns out he's 70 pounds. So when it comes to being online, I don't give ivermectin suggestions. It is a great product, especially if you have a lot of dogs because it's so cheap. It's very effective. But other than that, there are a lot of great dewormers on the market. Your vet will do deworming. I don't even think I use the same thing all the time. I know we use hearts. What I do focus on though is, as far as schedule of deworming, it depends. I live in California. We don't have a lot of issues except for mosquitoes, which cause heartworms. I dewormed my Jack Russell every 6 months because she eats birds. She would eat birds, gophers, mice, lizards. If the dogs killed something, she was trying to eat it. If it was already dead, she didn't care about it. She wouldn't pay that any attention. But if they killed something, she'd start trying to eat it. So I dewormed her every 6 months. My other dogs, I deworm once a year. And that's the same way I do my bullies. As far as, using the dewormers, you just want to make sure that you are not only getting dewormer for the intestinal system, you're also getting your heart dewormers for heartworms. And as long as you get that product, just read the instructions on the back and you're good. As far as antibiotics, the go-to has always been for decades, Fish Flex and Fish Mox. Fish Flex is seroflexin. Fish Mox is amoxicillin. It is the same thing that your vet gives your dog. The only thing is it's made for fish because you drop it in the fish tank. And then it dissolves and it helps clean out any issues or infections that your fish have. You can get it at 250 milligrams or you can get it at 500 milligrams. But if you get Fish Mox, Fish Flex, hit me up in Messenger. And if you need to know how much to give, I'll let you know. But yeah, that's what I use as an antibiotic. It is now illegal in some states due to people were doing those illegal butt injections and all that stuff in apartment buildings, and then using Fish Flex and Fish Mox as an antibiotic. We as humans can use it, but it is because it is the same thing. It just they change the serial number when it goes towards dogs, humans, or to fish tanks. But it is a great antibiotic that you can use. To worms, the other thing when it comes to dogs, to me, my opinion is a lot of it is preventative care. Preventative as far as breeding, preventative as far as you as the owner. When it comes to breeding, preventative care is breeding dogs with a strong immune system. Dogs are designed to expel parasites and worms. If you maintain a strong immune system, the dog should be good. And you should only have to do it. Now, some states you got a lot of humidity, a lot of bugs. You may want to do it every 6 months. I know people that in Florida that actually deworm their dog every 3 months. So what I tend to do is look at preventative care. Pumpkin seeds in a 2-week period are not sterilized. They paralyze worms in the dog, which makes them fall off of the intestines, and the dog just crops them out. Carrots, you all have heard me say, shred your vegetables or grate your vegetables on a cheese grater, but then at the same time smash your fruits. That way it makes it easier for the dog to digest. If you're looking for deworming, use carrots. Carrots help detoxify the system. Also, but cut them in chunks. Instead of grating it, cut them in chunks about the size of your pinky nail. That helps knock worms off the lining. Also, coconut oil is great because it is an antiseptic. It creates an environment that worms aren't comfortable with. They let go, the dog crafts them out. Apple cider vinegar is also something. Does the same thing. It's toxic to worms. Turmeric is toxic to worms. Turmeric, though, can get to some dogs' stomach, especially if they do have worms. It can upset their stomach. If you mix it with your coconut oil and then put it on the dog's food, makes it easier for them to digest, affects their stomach less. What else? Fasting helps your dog boost its immune system and clean its stomach out. What else? Grapefruit is also good for getting all those things, that citrus, pineapple, garlic, clove of garlic. All these things make an uncomfortable, boost the dog's immune system to expel the worms, and they make an uncomfortable environment for worms. So if you're doing these things every other day, and that's what I feed protein, which is raw ground beef and sardines on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I'm always get my days mixed up. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And then I like to do fruits and vegetables and the things that I'm naming that will help you deworm on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because I fast on Sunday. So fasting helps boost the dog's immune system. There's no food, so it weakens the worms. And then all of a sudden, bam, Monday hits, and bam, now you're fast on Sunday, and then Monday hits, bam, now all of a sudden you're giving these dogs these things that all together work to to help the dog expel worms. And then as long as you're, depending on where you live and how worms are in your area, as long as you are, deworming every 6 months to a year, then your dog should be good. Let's see. Is it possible? Let's see. Double Up Bully Kennel says, is it possible for a Merle breeding to throw all solid pups? Yes. You've got 3 things that happen with Merle breedings. One, you breed, you get a litter, and then there's some of the pups in the litter are Merle. They have the Merle gene. and it shows. You also will have pups that are Merle but don't show Merle. And then you will also have pups that do not show the Merle pattern whatsoever and do not have the Merle gene, but they came from a Merle parent. So as far as Merle breeding that throws solid pups, yes, you can have it. But you want to pay attention because some pups like our Merle, Mia, her Merle is very slight. You have to really look and then you can see it. If you're standing there, you see it. If you're looking at some of her pictures, you don't notice it. She's off of Woodland. Woodland is the same way, where you don't really notice the Merle in him until you're really looking at him. And then the other thing we were talking about was breeders lying about what to expect from the temperaments of their young pups. All right, so before we get into that, I'm going to go through the comments again where we at. Let's see. Betsy said apple cider vinegar and try a prebiotic chew once a day. Did wonders for Bailey's runny eyes. Yes, that also the probiotics and prebiotics help with your dog's immune system. If yogurt is great, don't get me wrong, plain yogurt. The best though is sauerkraut. It enables your dog to digest and pull more nutrients from its food. This not only helps with your dog's immune system as far as ear infections and ear issues, but also with worms. So you want to and apple cider vinegar in the dog's water. That's where you want to put it. A teaspoon in your dog's water, half a teaspoon, depending on. We have a bowl about this big, and I've never measured how much it actually takes, but it's about this big. And we put apple cider vinegar. I put fresh water in it every morning with apple cider vinegar and a pinch of Himalayan sea salt. And apple cider vinegar is another thing that makes it uncomfortable for worms, assists with the digestion and expelling worms. Let's see. Against the grain, Bullies said, just tuning in. What are your thoughts on back breeding? Back breeding, as in, I'm not too sure what you mean by that. I'm not sure if you mean back breeding as far as like doing a second breeding of the same two parents, repeat breeding, or what you mean by that. So let me know what you mean by that in the comments. Let's see. You said, do you keep pups in-house if they're born and ready to go outside during October through November winter season? I live in California, so our seasons are kind of the same year round. So they can go outside. If it's cold, I will still take them out as long as there's sunlight. I will still take them out. You want your pups getting daily sunlight. So if it means you got to hold them and take them out for 20 minutes cool, lay a blanket or a tarp down, and then set up a kennel around that, a little fenced in area around that for the pups. Whether you use baby gates, whatever it is, some type of pinning around the pups. That's cool. That will work. I would, but even if it's winter, I would still make sure that I get the pups outside so that they get that sunlight. But let me make sure I answer. Say, do you keep pups in-house? So yeah, but I live in California, so we could take them out. My pups in general are always born inside, in-house, and then I start taking them out. Rhodes said, "Against the grain Bullies, you asking about backyard breeding?" Yeah, not too sure what he's asking about there. Let's see. That's a good question. Interested to hear his answer. So, Joel, I don't get what he's asking when he said back breedings. Back-to-back breedings. I think that's what you're asking, is back-to-back breedings. I think that's the best because when you start skipping heat cycles, that scar tissue builds up and it does more damage. If you just do back-to-back breedings, until you're done breeding that female, then I think that's great. Now, let's say you've done let's say you've done 3 back-to-back breedings. You might want to give her a rest, maybe just skip one heat. But other than that, but you shouldn't need to do too many more breedings after she's bred 2 to 3 times, especially 3. But if you're going to do 3 breedings with a female, you're going to get what you want off the males that she's going to. Do them back to back. It's the healthiest for that female, and that way it's done. You get it over with. She stays in mama mode until you're done, and I think that's the best thing to do. Science is also backing that up, so are reproductive vets. Susie Q said, "Road." Okay, he's talking roads. She's talking to roads. Spirit Rider says, "Civil drive." Okay, that's the term. Couldn't remember that. Yeah, civil drive is a dog's willingness to bite for protection without agitation. Without the sleeve, without the person doing backflips and getting them all excited. That is what civil drive is. Let's see. Day one Bulls Kennel said, "What's the best dewormer when you feed the dogs raw meat?" I don't know that there's necessarily a best dewormer. I don't know that anybody does. I know the hearts, I am more preventative. And then every 6 months, I don't do a lot of raw meat other than raw ground beef. But your hearts, your regular dewormers from PetSmart, your vet does deworming. But those are all those. There is no bad dewormer. You can pretty much turn to anything that you want. When you go to PetSmart, just wherever it is you go, your feed store, dewormer is something that is now ivermectin is one of the best. You just need to know the measurements and that to do it properly. But there's a lot of great dewormers out there. There really is no dewormer that doesn't work, because deworming is not something that's difficult to do. You got to remember, if your dog's immune system is on point, they will deworm and expel worms themselves. So it's not something that's difficult to do. Deworming sounds scary because we're thinking of parasites and they latch on and they don't want to let go. It's not that. It's not like that. If your dog's immune system is healthy, you're deworming once a year with just your basic simple dewormer. Heartworms are the ones you want to watch for. So you want to make sure that you're doing your heartworm also. Your heartworm medications also. But the concept of worming sounds worse than what it really is. Deworming is very simple and easy for deworming products to do what they're supposed to do. Nimex 2 is one I've heard is good. Let's see. Ashley Hearn said, "My females are way more territorial. So are mine." And that's just females in general tend to be more territorial. Late in, what's up? That's all right. Better late than never. Inspirational Alpha said, "How do you read the different temperaments of the pups in order to tell what jobs they'd be best at?" For 90% of us, the jobs we're going to have are hunting or protection. Your pups that are best for protection are going to tend to be a little more reserved. They're going to be a little more independent. Your pups that like running around roughhousing all the time, those are going to tend to be pups that are better for hunting, hog catching, raccoon, whatever it is you might want to do with your bully. But your more reserved pups, your more independent pups tend to be the pups that are best for protection, because it's an independent job. I look for I do need to do a live where we talk about temperament testing in pups. And so that's a good idea. We'll definitely do that. I use this little thing is for cats, and it just makes a red dot. When you press the button, it makes a little red light. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. Make sure I don't hit. So you can see it on my hand. But it just makes a little red dot. I will see which pups are attracted to that initially. Those pups that are driven to that dot are tend to going to be making your more playful pups, your pups better for hunting, whatever it is you want to do. Those are going to tend to be the pups that are going to be great in just about any home. Your pups that ignore that, aren't as into it as other pups, are going to be your more reserved pups. So that's something that you want to think of when it comes to differentiating between the pups. Rose says, "Separate the active pups from the chill." Exactly. There you go. And flirt pole them in session to make your pick. Exactly. And flirt pole is another great way. And then if you got the little poles, you can just tie a string to something and just hang it over where you got your pups at and see which ones try to interact with it the most. Those that have the higher prey drive are going to be better for your hunting. better for your training, and all around family environment. Those that are more reserved are going to be the pups that are going to be, more for protection. Betsy said, watch the ones that watch the pack. Alpha, I will break up tiffs. Exactly. You see, your more dominant pups in the litter are going to tend to be better for protection also. Now, but your more dominant pups, whoever they go to, you want to let them know that this is a more dominant pup. You're going to have to be a little harder on them than, the other pups on average. Bullies, Cars, and AR says it's best to breed your stud in or out your yard first. We did our first breeding, actually first 2 breedings in our yard. Actually, we haven't bred King out of our yard. We've had 2 people that have paid stud fees, but we just never promoted King as a stud. Aziz, we're thinking about it, but he'll probably go in our yard first. I prefer my stud that to go in my yard, especially if I bought my stud. When you produce your stud, you can have kind of a better idea of the temperament, structure, ability. Now at that point, then cool, you can let people know this is what you should get from him, especially in your female pups. But yeah, I think you should breed it in your yard first so that you know kind of what you're getting before you go out and you know what to promote about them. Where'd it go? Why did it jump up like that? There we go. Let's see. Rose said my females have more prey drive than play drive, and they are more territorial and aggressive. My males have more prey and play drive and are way more laid back. Both are protective. There you go. And seeing Rose is breeding band dogs and looking for both protection and hawk catching. Let's get into the topic, then I'm going to get back into the comments. The last topic was breeders lying about what to expect when it comes to the temperament of their young pups. When we first got into bullies, which was about 5 years ago, we got our first bully about 4 years ago. We got into bullies in the Facebook community about 5 years ago. And we spent about 6 months to a year just watching who was who said what type of dogs were coming out. Nobody talked about temperament. Everybody was very anti-driven, prey-driven dogs. When we finally got our dogs and decided we were going to step off the curb and into the community, we pushed Drive the Bully day one, the whole hashtag Drive the Bully concept. A lot of people were offended by it, felt we were trying to ruin the breed. These aren't game dogs. They're not pit bulls because none of them understood what drive was. I'm noticing now when I go on Instagram, there are people who do hashtag Drive the Bully, which is cool. I'm noticing hashtag Drive the Bully is kind of catching on, definitely in concept and also in hashtag. And I notice people are now talking about temperament, especially when it comes to their pups. You guys hear me, we don't even sell pups online, but you hear me talk about King's temperament, Cardi Bull's temperament, Lady Justice temperament, Mia's temperament, Onyx temperament, Aziz's temperament. You hear us talking about temperament. I'm noticing with bullies, what I'm noticing now is you're getting people that are talking about the temperament of their pups, but they've never said anything about the temperament of the parents. They're breeding to such and such a dog, having semen shipped from across the world, from across the other end of the United States to their female. They're breeding. The pups are 6 weeks old, and they're telling you how the pups are protective or loyal. They're only 6 weeks, 8 weeks old. If you want these are the pups you need to get when it comes to temperament. Don't let people bullshit you. 99.9% of the bully community doesn't know anything about temperament. They know a dog that will bite you, and they know a dog that is over friendly. That's all they know. There are a few people in there that can speak on temperament. They may not necessarily know what drives they're talking about, so they kind of classify everything as dominant or prey driven. But they don't really know rank drive, dominant drive, prey drive, play drive, purpose drive. They don't even know how to search for those things. And you don't need those details unless you're breeding for temperament. And you're trying to actually increase or breed or decrease levels of temperament. We don't decrease anything in a temperament unless we're using something else to replace it. Typically, we use purpose drive or play drive to replace it. Prey drive, we like where things are set at with the dogs, which is about average. If I was going to decrease prey drive, I would then increase play or purpose drive. We don't need to increase dominance in our pups. We don't need to increase rank drive. Is something I always keep low. A lot of breeders don't know how to breed that out. And because if you got a rank driven dog, and that's when people say they breed for temperament, this is what to expect. That's why you know they're bullshitting. If you got a rank driven dog and you want to bring down the rank drive by breeding it to dogs that are less rank driven, those dogs need to replace that rank drive with something else. In bullies, the best thing for replacement is increase the prey drive, increase the play drive, or increase the purpose drive. If you've got a dog that has a high defensive drive in a bully, you know you don't want a dog that's over paranoid, over ready to bite somebody. So you've got a dog that you want to kind of decrease that in the dog. What are you replacing it with? And that's how you breed for temperament. It's just like music. If you take down the volume if you take down the levels of the drums, what are you going to replace it with? Because if all you're doing is taking down the drum, let's say you take down the level in the hi-hat, well, then that's not going to sound right with the snare. You want it to be level. So if you're going to bring one down, one needs to come up, or they need to be perfectly at a level space. Same thing with when you're doing the guitars, the bass guitar and the electric guitar, the bass guitar and a person who has a deep voice. All those things have to be level so that one can stay up and the other one come down, or one come down, the other one go up. Temperament is the exact same as being in a music studio. You want things to be replaced, because if you leave a void, you don't know what you're replacing that void with. The biggest mistake man ever made was turning the pit bull into the Amstaff show dog. And we took a dog that was built and geared for fighting, and then all of a sudden we said we're going to breed out the gameness, and we're going to start breeding this dog for show. Well, when you bred out the gameness, what did you also breed out? Tolerance of the human touch. These dogs were built so that you could break up a fight without getting bit. They were so focused on each other. And when you reduce that gameness, what did you do? You increase human aggression. And that's why you tend to see over the last 80 years, most times when there's a dog bite and they're calling it a pit bull, but it ain't a pit bull. It's an American Staffordshire Terrier or a bully, because they just reduced gameness and that was it. It was never replaced with something. And so to create that balance when you're breeding for temperament, it's got to be replaced. So when you see breeders and they're talking about, I breed for temperament, always ask them, how do you breed for temperament? What drives are you talking about when you say you breed for temperament? Start studying drives, learning drives, so that you can do the same thing when it comes to breeding for temperament, and so that you can ask these proper questions. A goofy, happy-go-lucky dog, that's not breeding for temperament. That's why you get people whose dogs are getting stolen. There's some video of a dude getting beat up by some guy. He had his dog on leash and the dog wasn't doing anything about it. That's not what dogs are here for. They're not just here to be yard ornaments. They are here to take on a purpose, even if you didn't give them that purpose, especially when we're talking about bullies, which is a bull bred breed. They were never going to be able to escape that because it's in the name, bully, American bully. So there should be a little funk to them. There should be, they should be protected. The American bully should be able to walk into PetSmart, get along with everybody, get along with dogs, and not act a fool, and at the same time be willing to protect its home, be willing to protect its owner. When they say zest for life, you can't have a zest for life unless you're willing to protect life. You know what I mean? You just being happy-go-lucky, but then something happens, and next thing you know, you cower down. That's not a zest for life. That's a zest for situations that are in your benefit or working towards what you want at the time. A zest for life, life encompasses all things. So a zest for life, which they got that term from the UKC Pit Bull and the AKC American Staffordshire Bull Terrier. A zest for life is a dog that enjoys life in all situations. When they say exuberant willingness to please, that doesn't just mean please me at what I trained you for. That means please me at a situation that I didn't see coming and neither did you. It knows I'm nervous or I've become aggressive, my nerves are on a rise, then you need to match me because you're my dog, you're my companion. So when you talk about exuberant willingness to please and a zest for life, remember, those terms came from the UKC American Pit Bull Terrier and the AKC American Staffordshire Terrier. The only place that the ABKC flipped it is they said they didn't want any dog aggression, was not to be tolerated. But your dog should still, it's a bull. It should still be dominant around other dogs. When it's at the dog park, and it should get along with all the golden retrievers. But then when somebody shows up with that dominant Rottweiler, that dominant boxer, your bully should be looking at him like, okay, who's that over there? You know what I'm saying? That's what you want. Don't mean he's gonna start a fight, but he should be ready and kind of watching, like, you know, you're not gonna come over here dominating this area with me and the Chihuahuas I'm playing with. You can do that over there. You know what I mean? And when that dog walks into that dog park and comes across your bully, he should know this ain't the bully. This ain't the guy to be trying to be dominating. So when you get these people and they're talking about how they breed for temperament, or this is what you should expect from my pups, protective, loyal, great companion. How? What is it that makes them a companion? What is it that makes them protective? What is it that makes them loyal, especially when the pup's only 6 weeks old? What is it that you're seeing that makes you think any of this? Because there's things that you could say can trigger that later, but you know, there's no such thing as protective puppies, protective 6-week-old puppies. But a lot of breeders, now that temperament is starting to be mentioned a lot more in the community, a lot of breeders are using it as a sales tactic. So again, just like I told you guys, when you see somebody claim they're a dog man, ask them what makes them a dog man. When you see somebody claim that they breed for temperament, ask them, how do you go about breeding for temperament? Because unless you're testing these dogs, you can't breed for temperament. It took us 2 years with Cardi Bull. So like her third heat, Justice for her fourth or fifth heat before we did any breedings. King was about 3 years old before he was bred because we wanted to know their temperament. So when the breedings took place and we got the pups, we wanted to know what to look for from King, what to look for from Cardi Bull, what to look for from Justice. What are we looking for with these litters or Kinsey that we should be expecting with these pups? And are we getting it? And how are we getting it? And who are we getting it from? Because we know these are the things that we're capable of doing protection with these dogs. We're capable of hunting with these dogs. What are we getting from these pups that we're seeing? That is how you breed for temperament. I can tell you what to expect from our litter. The pups themselves as individuals, though, are going to be a little higher. Some of them are going to be a little more like mom than like dad. Some of them are going to be a little more like dad than like mom. So I can tell you overall what you should expect from the pups that you get from us. For people that haven't been pushing their dogs, haven't been testing their dogs, putting their dogs through anything, they're lying to you. So be careful of that. Because a guy who's got 2 American bullies that'll bite anybody will tell you how his pups have great temperament. And they're just lying to you. So be careful with that. Let me get back to the comments, because I think that was the last topic. Let's see. Betsy said, your yard, in my opinion, when it came to where should you breed your stud first, I agree. Mr. J, what's up, bruh? Betsy said, you're late. Exactly. Ashley said, apple cider vinegar is great if you soak. Yes. Especially I've noticed with bullies, people are having a lot of issues with yeast buildup between the toes of the dogs. Yes, apple cider vinegar. You mix that apple cider vinegar with your hydrogen peroxide. You mix the two, put it on the soak it on the feet. It's very good for them. Also very good for soaking on the coat of the dog. Like I said, if you're having ear issues, cleaning the inside of it with peroxide and apple cider vinegar helps a lot. Um, let's see here. Susie Q said, Rhodes, I have a Borbell 13 weeks. She's active. As clever I can see, she would be a good holder. They have Bull Mastiff and Ridgeback in them. I used to hunt pigs for years and use Bull Mastiff pure. Wow, I've never seen a Bull Mastiff do any hog hunting. That's it. I would love to see that. Let's see. Mr. J said, I am at work. Dom said, Bragg's apple cider vinegar. Yes, it's a good product. Natural burst for me. I agree. I think with the bullies, we have to be careful because there's so much bulk, especially if you're breeding towards a standard. You get those broad shoulders, big heads. If you have a large litter, you should be cool. I would suggest for bullies, ask how your dogs were born, your males, your females. Were they born naturally or were they born by C-section? If they were born by C-section, I would say don't take the chance until you're starting to get some consistency in your yard. Here's the thing. When we don't do things, we lose those things. So we know there's a lot of C-sections going on in our breed. That means there's a lot, and this is going to sound harsh, but there's a lot of females that should have been giving natural birth and dying from natural birth, or giving natural birth and the pups dying from natural birth. We've eliminated that process by doing C-sections. So therefore, we don't know who's who. And those females that would normally die or not be able to breed are being bred because we're doing C-sections. So you just want to be careful because, like I said, these dogs can look like gorillas on the outside and be hamsters when it comes to their reproductive organs. So you just want to be careful of that. Ashley said, do you think that C-sections limits the amount of breedings? I don't think so. I think you can still do it every 6 months, every heat cycle. So no, I don't believe so. I personally don't believe a female should be bred beyond 3 times. If she's just a phenomenal female and you haven't, for whatever reasons, she hasn't gone to the right male to get what you want to get from her, that's a different subject. But I think within 3 breedings, you should be able to produce your males and females that you need to move on to the next phase so that she can go and have fun. Because if you're breeding her every 6 months, that means by the time she's 3, 4, she's had 2 to 3 breedings, and bam, you know what I mean? Let's let her go do her thing. You know what I mean? Have fun and quit worrying and not have to worry about puppies anymore. Ashley said, I'm all for natural. I agree. It is the best. And unfortunately, we have created breeds that have gotten away from it. Rose said, what you think about the blue brindle male on my avatar photo? That's the father to their mother. Hold on. Let me see. I can't see it. How can I see it? Yeah, I can't see it, Rhodes. Hold on. Let me see if I got my magnifying glass. Oh, okay. You know what? He is bigger on here. And he looks good. I like his build. I like his shoulders. I like his head. I even like his ear set. It looks like he's sitting properly. Looks like he might be a little easty westy, but that just looks like that's how he's sitting right then. So I don't know. But he's a good looking dog. I like him. Real good looking dog. I like his build. Let's say Mr. J said they be dragging hard in the comments for saying it's not the dog, it's you. Exactly. Let's see. Belinda Pitbull Bell said you have some that do C-sections because they don't want to deal with labor nor lose a pup. I didn't even think about that. That's true. They're doing a C-section because they don't want to take a chance on losing pups, which is funny because I'm not going to say never. I've had natural births and lost some pups. I've had natural births and the pups would have been lost, but I was able to revive them. I don't know though. But I can bet that is exactly why they're doing it. But see, by doing it now, we're getting away from pups that should have been lost and moms that should have had a bad a bad natural birth, so therefore she's never bred again. And now we'll never know. We're just breeding any and everything, and we'll have no idea. Susie Q said, haha, that's so true. As dogs are dogs, not humans, but people make them like humans through their actions. Yes, we do. We baby dogs to a point. You know, it's like when people say, my dogs are my children. But then when you have children, you realize, no, this ain't the same. You know what I mean? When you have a baby and you have dogs, the dog almost becomes a part of the upbringing. You know, it's not, it's a member of the family, but it's not like a child. They mature too fast. And then when you get more than 2 dogs, you start getting 3, 4 dogs, you start to realize you're not really a member of the pack like we like to say. We might be able to control the pack, but when I'm out hunting with 4 dogs, I'm not a member of the pack. I can't keep up with them. I can't communicate. I'm not jumping in there on no hog or no bobcat. You know what I mean? So they operate when you get more than 1 dog, or when you get like sometimes 2, depending on the breed, but especially 3. I don't care if they're Chihuahuas. You will realize you're not a member of the pack. They're able to communicate with their ears, their eyes, their posture, their foot position, their bark, their growl. We just have our voice and our stance, you know, and that's about it. So if they can communicate, are you really a member of their pack? And are they really a member of our, you know, for us to be humanizing them as family members? No, they're not. Humanizing dogs just ruins them. Pitbull Bell said, ooh, I feel my cold kicking back in. They do only AI because they scared and impatient. I agree. Now, I know with bullies, the structure of a lot of the bullies, especially as you get more towards the standard, is more difficult for dogs to do natural breedings. We did a natural tie with Justice. She didn't end up pregnant though. But even getting that done, we noticed was a little more difficult because the male was just having a hard time. These dogs are like boxes. They're just so boxy and square that they're just built different. I don't think AIs is a problem, but I do think C-sections over time becomes a problem. And I would say the best thing that you can possibly do, and be careful with your dogs, but when you start getting some consistency within your yard, your females are around the same size, your males are around the same size, go ahead, put that money aside for that emergency C-section, have your vet look at the dog, and then try for that. If you can get these bullies to where they're doing and fit the breed standard, plus can do a natural birth, that's a win-win. And it's something to brag about. Let's see. Pitbull Bell said, mine go natural, but always prepared for an emergency. Exactly. Castor said, could a large, and then remember, if you're having the problem with the natural birth, like I said earlier, is the shoulders and the head. But if you're having a large litter, chances are you're good. But they're bullies. So just be ready for that emergency C-section. Pitbull Bell said, my XL bitch is serious, rank-driven bitch, very confident, and the other dogs respect her, except the XL I produce. They tried to kill each other. Exactly. And so, you know, and you're more into the working mentality and the drive of dogs than the average bully breeder. So that's something that, you know, if they're looking to go to show, they gotta have to be a little more careful. If you just like a driven dog, that's how you are. That's like how you like your dogs. You like a rank driven dog, then cool. As far as the breed standard, we know based off the breed standard, they're supposed to be able to get along with strange dogs. You know, then you are going to want to bring the rank drive down. For us, we want dogs that we know can go to. I'm not into the whole dog park thing. Now, the offspring, our productions have been going to dog parks and doing well. One has started as he's hit a year, a little over a year. He's had a couple little situations at the dog park. He's still good. His owner is still confident with taking him there. We have another that would never be able to go to a dog park. He's good at the vet. He's good at PetSmart. but he's more like his mama. Cardi Bull is not no dog park dog. She's not into, she don't even want dogs to be introduced to her. That's not her thing. She could see them, it's cool. She'll walk right past them. If they pull towards her or anything, she's ready to go. Pet smart, she can walk up and down the aisle past dogs. She's fine. If they just want to sniff her real quick, she's cool. But as far as let's go play, that's not her deal. That she don't has no desire whatsoever to play with another dog other than the puppies that she's just given birth to, and that's it. She'll play with her pups. That's it. As far as playing with a strange dog, she has no desire for that. Somebody's emoji didn't show up. Let's see. Pitbull Bell said you cannot give your dog enough ivermectin to kill worms because it will kill your dog. Exactly. You have to be careful with ivermectin. That is why I don't give advice to people on the measurements of ivermectin, because like I said, people will tell you they got a 100-pound dog and really a 70. So I don't even play with that when it comes to giving advice on ivermectin. It is a great product when used correctly, especially if you have a lot of dogs, because it's a cheap, great product. It needs to be used correctly in the right measurements. I don't get into that. You get me in my inbox, then that's when I'll go into how much ivermectin. But as far as just being on Facebook saying, okay, this is what you want to do, there's just too many people that eyeball their dog and say, okay, it's 70 pounds. Okay, it's 90 pounds. When really, no, it's 70. It's 100 pounds. No, it's not. You know what I mean? So that's why when it comes to bullies, I don't give that advice. If you own Chihuahuas, I'll tell you right off the bat how much ivermectin to give them. But when it comes to bullies, I don't get involved in that because a lot of people eyeball the weight of their dogs. Mike B said, do you spay your females when they are done breeding? I have a 4-year-old as pet. She is unspayed. Is there a pro or con for getting her spayed? Thanks again. I've never spayed or neutered a dog in my life. We did have a bull lurcher that we got from a rescue that was spayed. Other than that, I've never spayed or neutered a dog in my life. All my dogs have lived 10 plus years, 15, 17. I think the oldest was 18. Floyd right now has never been spayed, neutered. He's bred 3 times. No, how many times? Actually, you know what? Floyd's bred quite a few times. With me in-house, Floyd is bred 3 times. Going to other people's dogs, Floyd has actually bred a lot. But again, he's never spayed. He is 15 years old right now and doing just fine. So I'm not into the whole spay neuter thing. I do believe the benefits are cancers. Typically, they say if your female has had several litters that she should be good. What it is every time the female has that buildup of progesterone, she's doing damage to her litter. I mean, her uterus. That starts from her very first heat. When she gets in that very first heat, the buildup of progesterone does do damage to the uterus. That is why it is expelled out through the heat. So every time she goes into heat, she is doing damage to her uterus every single time. The more she goes into heat, tends to be the less fertile she is, and more complications that she can have. But we're talking at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. So that's how long it takes for there to be an actual decent amount of damage from the progesterone buildup in her, inside of her. So the reason there is a pro to having her spayed when she's done breeding is you stop the heat cycle, you stop the buildup, the damage that is done to the uterus, and it allows her to continue on without that. That is the only pro I've ever known of, and that damage can sometimes cause cancer. With your males, you can have them neutered, but that's just not my thing. I've never seen a need to. I've had large dogs, lived 14 years, Floyd might be, when he was young and in shape, he might have been about 65, 70 pounds. Now he's probably about 55, 60 pounds. He's probably about 60 pounds. But I just don't see a need for it. Let's see. Susie Q said, I use Dronto here in New Zealand. And yeah, see, a lot of the dewormers, it is a lot about where you live and what it is you're dealing with. Here in California, we don't have a huge issue with worms. My rest in peace, I don't have my nasty little Jack Russell that used to eat anything she killed. So I deworm once a year, and I just get the regular, I just go to PetSmart, get a dewormer. I go to my feed store, and I get a dewormer from them, and that's that. I don't even remember the names of them. And I don't even believe I use the same ones all the time. If they change the picture on the box, then I'm probably going to end up grabbing something different. But deworming, and that's the reason I gave you the preventative care for worms, is an easy thing that is done. It's not something that's difficult for your medications. So you don't need like a top of the line dewormer to deworm. It's very easy to get those worms up and out. Let's see. Pitbull Bell said, I use triple worm tabs. Panicure is another good one. And Valve is, hold on. There we go. And Valve is in, and you alternate. Okay, now that's one of the reasons I stopped paying attention to what dewormer I was using, and I'll just grab one. It is best that you don't use the same one all the time. You want to use different dewormers when you are deworming, switching off. So I'm glad she brought that up because I was not thinking. Fish Zola will treat fungal infections and also Giardia. Yes, that is true. Fish Zol. Is it Zol? Because you put Zola and now I'm seeing Zol on there now for some reason. I think you're right though. It is Zol. It is Zol. Ashley said, "Whoa, not sure what that was." G Hitman said, "My dogs are raw fed. I thought they needed deworm more often. Once a year wouldn't be bad." I would say with raw feeding, you probably want to do at least every 6 months. I feed raw ground beef, but I don't do chicken and all that other stuff, and I only deworm my dogs once a year. But yeah, I would say feeding raw, you probably want to do, I would say every 6 months. Shouldn't be any more than 3 months. But like I said, I'm not a big raw feeder, and I am very big on preventative care when it comes to deworming through the apple cider vinegars, the fruits, the vegetables that I use, and keeping my dog's immune system strong. Because like I said, the dog's immune system, if proper, is built to dispel worms also. And if you keep that apple cider vinegar in their water, garlic in their food every other day, and you're building them up that way, it's an uncomfortable, unpleasant place for worms to exist. Therefore, they don't latch and they are waiting to get expelled out of the dog. Let's see here. Bullies, Cars, and AR said, can't find ivermectin nowhere. You should be able to get it online or at feed stores. Most pet stores don't sell it, at least not here in California. But you should be able to get it online. Definitely get it online, and you should be able to get it at most feed stores. Let's see. Pitbull Bell said, if you feed raw, you should deworm at least every other month. Woo! Every other month. Okay. I was thinking possibly every 3. But if you're feeding raw, and that makes sense, you know. But like I said, I don't do raw other than raw ground beef. And even with that, I've done that for years. I've still only dewormed, but I give it to them every other day. And then there's sometimes where they don't get raw ground beef at all. They won't get it for a few days. But I do it every other day. And with my Jack Russell was every 6 months. But here in California, we don't really deal with too much. We don't have really a bad worm problem. And like I said, I use, you know, the pumpkin seeds, the apple cider vinegar. I make my dog's body an uncomfortable place for worms. Gietna said, okay, thanks. Pitbull Belts, pumpkin seed. There we go. Will deworm, and so will tobacco. I know a few breeders that have used tobacco, fresh cut tobacco, for deworming. I actually know a guy that makes his own dewormer and sells it here in Pomona and Chino Hills area to people off of, but he makes it off of tobacco. But yes, tobacco will deworm your dog. Pumpkin seed sterilizes the worm so that your dog can expel it. So it's great also. Ashley Hernan said, nice pumpkin seed. Yes. Let's see. Where are we at? We're at 7:01, so I'm about 40 minutes behind. G Hitman said they eat pumpkins every week. I'll throw those seeds in, but I've been using coconut oil, garlic, and vinegar and water, and one of them still got it, so I think he ingested something. Probably did. And if he got it, but you saw it because he shit it out, what you're feeding it probably helped with that process. You know what I mean? So that's another part of it. Bullies, Bully Car Guy, Try, Chewy. I think that's where I got. Oh, yes, Chewy online. Have I gotten? See, I go to my feed store when I used to get ivermectin. I don't know if she's talking about for dewormer or for ivermectin dewormer. I don't know that I've seen it on Chewy, though. It probably is. Chewy has everything. Chewy has just about everything. I don't know that I've seen ivermectin, but I haven't looked for it on there. Jet Man said Giardia. Okay, that's what we were talking about earlier. Pitbull Bell said make a tea with rosemary, orange peels, and garlic. Let cool over dog as a natural repellent. That's a good idea, and I have not heard of that. That's a very good idea. That's a very good idea because that citrus from the orange peel is going to help repel. Garlic is going to automatically help repel, and so is rosemary. Rosemary repels fleas, ticks. I want to say mice. That's a good idea. I like that. I like that. I'm going to have to go back and write that one down. Now, Spirit said, and let the garlic sit for 5 to 8 minutes. Yes, you do. For those who do garlic, on the days that I'm doing garlic, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I grate the garlic in through with a cheese grater, but it's the first thing I do. Then I go get the kibble, then I go prepare everything else, and then you want the garlic to air out so that those active ingredients that we're looking for get going. So yes, that was good. Spirit brought that up. Susie Q said garlic is the onion family is actually toxic for dogs. No, what happened is, I'm going to say this wrong, so don't laugh at me. They're called galooms or alums or whatever it is, onion and garlic. And garlic is part of that family. So everybody assumed years ago that garlic was the same. Then they did a study on garlic, and rather than them use garlic cloves, they used a garlic extract, which was extremely strong and got the dog sick. I do half a clove every other day for my Jack Russell when she was alive. Sadie's 103 pounds. Floyd is 65 pounds. King's 100 and ranges from 155 to 163. So he's usually right around 157. King, I think my cousin gives him 2 garlic cloves every other day. Sadie gets 1 garlic clove every other day. Floyd gets 1 garlic clove every other day. Garlic is not itself toxic. It was the extract that they were using when they did the study that was toxic. They ended up finding that extract they used was like 10 to 20 times more stronger than your actual garlic. But so we first assumed they were toxic for dogs because we know onions are toxic. Now, when I was young, my mom was big on giving the dogs the leftover stews, and they did get cooked or boiled onion. Never had any issues. But we assumed that the garlic was toxic. Then to prove that, because it was related to the onion, then to prove that it was toxic, they used a garlic extract and ended up finding out that that garlic extract was was like 10 to 20 times stronger than natural garlic. G Hitman said, yeah, I do that too. Hands always smell bad. Yeah, you know what, dude? The other one I hate, I'm big on sardines. Sardines are the best fish you can give to your dogs because it's more potent. Most of the fish that we give to our dogs eat other fish to get the nutrients that they need. Sardines get it straight from where it's coming from. And with sardines, I eat sardines, but when I'm giving sardines to the dogs, I hate when I crack it open and it splashes on me. That I hate that. Um, let's see here. We're gonna get off of here in about 10 minutes. People Bell said infuse rosemary in coconut or olive oil will grow hair back. Yes, coconut is very good. Rosemary is also very good for if you have missing patches of fur. I think that was from the question earlier, so you guys can see I'm behind on the comments. And that's why I like how we do this, because they're answering. You guys are commenting. I'm just catching up on the comments. And we've got people in here that know a lot. And there's sometimes where I'm saying things, but thinking about something else that we're looking at, and I might forget to throw something in there. And then there's sometimes where I haven't known or heard of something, and you got people like Betsy or Pitbull Bell that are coming in, and then they're thinking of it or they know something. Let's see. Spirit says small amounts press and set for 5 minutes is okay. She's talking about the garlic. It's the what? The games that isn't cool. Not sure what you meant by that. I want to say you're talking about the garlic, but let's see. Small amounts of garlic is okay. Onions are toxic and cause pancreatitis. Yes. It's the gases. Okay, exactly. Okay. Um, Putin 100 said, "Can you give pups sauerkraut?" Yeah, but they probably won't eat it. You can give them a little bit. I wouldn't worry about young pups. I don't really get my dogs on my feeding regimen until they're about 4 months old. I start slowly introducing them to the fruits, the vegetables, things like that. Sauerkraut can be a little strong for pups. More the smell. A lot of dogs don't like it. So I would try maybe a little bit, but it is very good probiotic for dogs. It is better. Yogurt's a very good one, but sauerkraut is very much better. Anything that's fermented is going to be very good for their intestinal system, cleaning out the gut, getting the nutrients out of things that they should get. Especially like if you feed, kibble. You want your dog to get the most out of that kibble as possible. Sauerkraut, little pinch, sprinkle of black pepper, sauerkraut, yogurt. Those are all things that are good for them. You don't necessarily need yogurt though if you're using sauerkraut. Let's see. Spirit said yes, but why would you give sauerkraut? Okay, sauerkraut is fermented, and probably the best probiotic, not only for us. You want to get it organic, fresh organic sauerkraut, not only for us, but also if you can make it yourself. If I'm not mistaken, there's a guy every now and then he's on the live, Dion Peebles. He makes his own sauerkraut, if I'm not mistaken. But if you can make it yourself, any type of fermented vegetables is going to be extremely good for building the probiotics in your dog and those good germs in the dog's stomach to fight off those bad germs, assist with digestion, assist with pulling nutrients out. Let's see. People Bill said I wouldn't give pups sauerkraut. Yeah, I would wait till you've got them on a basic regimen, and then, like I said, I would probably right around 4 to 6 months I would start giving it, but in little amounts. And remember, at that age, they can start taking yogurt right off the bat. So I would focus more on yogurt at that early age. And then, migrate to the sauerkraut right around 4 to 6 months is when I would migrate to it. Betsy said, I've been hearing kraut for the past 2 days. Yes, sauerkraut is good. Pumpkin is best for gut health. Pumpkin is great. Not only pumpkin seed, but pumpkin and canned pumpkin is also great. Spirit said, me either, no dog for that matter. Castro said, what's the longest you have kept a puppy? It depends. Working dogs, if they're going to a working home, I will, if I know that person, allow pups to leave at 6 weeks old. I prefer to get my pups at 6 weeks old when it comes to working breeds, at 6 weeks old. Now, when it comes to breeds outside of working, protection for like home protection, things like that, I prefer to have them for 8 weeks, so that I can start gearing them and preparing them from that home, which I start at about 6 weeks old. With bullies, because their growth is inconsistent and we're still learning ourselves, this is our first time dealing with bullies. Until we get our yard consistent, we don't let them go until 10 weeks. We let everybody keep them at 8 weeks. We let them pick them at 8 weeks. They go at 10 weeks. And we spend that last 8 to 10 weeks kind of gearing them and their drives and manipulating their drives and their temperament, getting them prepared for the house that they are getting ready to go to. So if they're going to, like for instance, Aziz, we knew he was going to be a big dog. He initially went to a home where it was a grandmother that was going to be coming through a lot. So there were different things that we worked on before he actually left. So once I know I've got it consistent, then I'd probably let the dogs go earlier. And then also the structure factor. Once the structure is consistent, so they'll let people pick at 6 weeks, take them home at 8 weeks. Right now, they pick at 8 weeks, take them home at 10. Spirit said, I'll have to ask my raw guy. Pitbull Bell said, back to back is the best. He's talking about the breedings. I agree. Pitbull Bell said, the uterine wall thickens if you skip too many in a row. Exactly. And that just causes more damage. So it's easier to do the breeding. She goes into heat again, do your next breeding. That way it's less damage. Now there's a surgery factor of C-sections, of course. And that's why I feel, 2-3 breedings, we should be done. Joel Sanchez said, the idea of back-to-back breedings is a male to female, then take that father. Okay, you're talking about back breedings. So the idea of back breeding is a male to female, then take that father to his daughter, then again to his granddaughter. So basically a inbreeding, then a close line breeding. Take this male to 3 generations of females, and that idea is you'll see in the comments. Oh, hold on, Floyd. The idea is your comment. Oh, the idea is you'll see the progress. Here we go. The fastest, but I've never met someone who actually did it. Hold on. That is kind of your standard idea of doing a bloodline. You're taking, and like you said, you're taking the father to the daughter. There's your inbreeding. Then you're going to taking the female off of that back to the grandfather. Is what I think you're saying. That is, I prefer, once an inbreeding is done, I guess I look at it more in reverse. I'd rather start the line breeding. Whatever corrections I think, if I know my yard's good, but there's little things I need to fine tune, I'll start line breeding. Then from there, I'll start doing, as those things are getting fine tuned, I'll start doing a closer line breeding. If I'm doing that closer line breeding, when I say closer line breeding, typically it's going to be grandfather to granddaughter. If that pup comes out exactly how I want from that litter, I'll probably do another, and then I'm going to do an actual inbreeding to bring it together, father-daughter. That just tremendously locks it in. From there, I'm going to either do a distant line breeding, probably beyond the grandfather, or I'm going to outcross to a dog that I know is at least got some line breeding going on and has those same traits that I'm looking for, because I don't want anything being weakened, and then bring that back into my yard and then restart the process of line breeding and then inbreeding, line breeding, close line breeding, inbreeding, and then distant line breeding again. But I do, with the bullies, we are aiming on doing an inbreeding, then doing an outcross, then trying to stay within our yard from that point on until we see that we need to step out again. Rose said, but that's what he was talking about with back breeding, which was but I see what that's doing. It's really, really tightening that blood. Rose said, I held 2 pups for a buyer all the way up until they were 3 months old. Sometimes well, I don't have a problem doing that. Typically, though, I try to have them gone at about 10 weeks, especially with bullies. If they're overseas, you have to wait 4 months. But yeah, I'll hold a pup for somebody, especially if they've got a situation going on where they're like, hey, can you hold a pup? I have no problem holding a pup for people. Let's see. Joel said, okay, that was the continuation of his last comment. Let's see. Joel, that's the purpose. If you're pulling the traits you want in both. Exactly. And that is typically going to be your typical way of breeding, because you want to stay as close as possible without causing any structural issues. So if you can go back from a inbreeding father-daughter, then back to a grandfather, then yeah, if everything is coming out perfect, I would say, yeah, keep definitely. If there's something that you notice, like, okay, a little too much, starting to get stockier, I'm losing height, things like that, that's when you want to do a distant line breeding or an outcrossing. The other thing with the outcrossing is you open the door up. If you do that inbreeding, and let's say you do go back to a grandfather, and then all of a sudden you go, or you take that inbreeding, you've done some tight line breeding, then you do the inbreeding, then you outcross to a brand new fresh blood, but has the same the same traits that you're looking for. Now you're opening the door for the opportunity and increasing your chances of hybrid vigor, which is you just get this great dog that you never even imagined. And that's why I like to do line breeding, close line breeding, inbreeding, then outcross to the same traits, but brand new, fresh blood. Crossing my fingers that we just get something we were not expecting, and that is not in our yard at all whatsoever, or in the yard of the individual that we outcross to. But it's great. It's weird how the screen keeps stalling. I think that's just on StreamYard. Suzy Q said, yep, back to back as the uterine lining. So it's repeating the same thing. People Bell said, it took 8 years to get to the pup I have now. Joel, but I was careful and patient. You have to be patient with this game. You got to be patient. Bully Bred Kennels was talking about Nimex, 2 for pups under 8 weeks. Rose said, I had a kennel set up on the porch with the dog house and a heater. There you go. There you go. As long as it works for you, it's good. What the hell did it jump for like that again? Ooh, wee. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and tune this out, especially because I'm 40 minutes behind in the comments. So we're going to go ahead and log off. You guys are welcome to keep chatting. I got to make a run real quick that I forgot about. But salute. Thank y'all for tuning in. I actually forgot to bring y'all on the live, huh? All right, next week, I promise. Tuesday, same time, same place. Today was Wednesday, but next week we'll be back on Tuesday, and I'll make sure that I put in the link so that you guys can join in on the live. That's my bad. But I'm out.